Welcome. Welcome to your 8 minutes Thriving Heart, Thriving Life Grief Tips. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a time when you're not quite sure what to say to somebody who's recently experiencing a loss or other form of other cause of grief? And perhaps it's a friend or a client who you see them and you say, oh, what am I going to say to them, knowing that they're experiencing grief? Would it interest you to know that one of the most common cause of irritations or annoyance that grievers shares with me after my 25 plus years of helping people navigate successfully through and beyond grief, one of the things that they say that annoys them is actually being asked, how are you? See, in their mind, they know that you meant well when you ask them, how are you? And at the same time, the questions of how are you, if somebody is grieving, is confusing to them. And the reason for that is many times grievers not feeling well, and perhaps they're not even doing their normal routine that make them feel even worse. They might or already says they haven't slept for 3 days or they haven't showered for 3 days. And when being asked how are you, they got into confusions of, well, you know, I'm not sure if I really want to tell you that I have not showered or haven't eaten for 3 days, but I also don't want to lie. So what am I going to say now? And that confusion caused them to feel irritated. Additionally, if many times with people, if they believe that you're supposed to know that they're going through things, being asked how are you, it's kind of like a passe to them. It's kind of like, what do you mean? How am I? How do you think I am? And then so they kind of thinks that it's just a very superficial thing, and you don't truly care, which then irritates them as well. So asking how are you to somebody who is grieving is not necessarily the best thing for them or you. Now, what can you do instead? What can you do? Adding time specificity. So in other words, saying, how are you this afternoon? Actually, that little change make a huge difference. And the reason for that is when you add a time specificity. So in other words, how are you today? How are you this afternoon? How are you this morning? It firstly, it helps the person grieving to narrow down of all the things going on and all the tumultuous and everything. They help them focus this afternoon. Okay, well, they can say, this afternoon, I feel a bit overwhelmed actually by apprehensions. I'll just feel apprehended. Or they might say, well, I've been feeling really crummy actually the last week, but this afternoon, I'm actually feeling somewhat okay. I feel a little bit better, and they can share that with you. And then also when you have the time specificity, it's implied to the person grieving that you really, really care about them. And you know they are going through tough times, and you care so much that you want to know how are they doing today or this morning or this afternoon. And naturally, when people felt care, it make them feel better. Now, what do you do after you ask that? What do you do after you ask that if they don't quite answer, if they just kind of like, what have you? When somebody is grieving, we do not want to push. We do not want to insist or persist or start asking the same question in different ways or something. When people are grieving, it's very, very exhausting a lot of time. Griefs actually takes a lot of energy, and practically every person of the 25,000 plus people I have helped navigating through grief, says that they at some point they feel just so tired, they're so tired they could barely get out of bed. And so we want to allow people who are grieving to have their space, to have their emotional space, and to a good degree also physical space. Doesn't mean you try to stay out of, on the other end of the room if you are with them, but if they are not answering you, then please do not take it personally, is number one. They might just not hear you. That question might just take their mind into saying somewhere else that we don't even know. So firstly, they might not even hear you. And secondly, sometimes they just too tired or just don't feel like talking. And it has absolutely nothing with you. It is about the grief that they are experiencing. What you want to do if they're not answering you is to just be there, be present. Grievers become very sensitive and they can feel your heart. So be present with love and compassion and patience, and just kind of at some point say, hey, if you need anything, I'm here for you, or just say in some way that you're there for them, that you are with them, and be present with patience and compassion and no judgment. And they will be able to feel your heart. And when you do that, they feel cared of. So the point with this is, when it comes to grief, specificity make a difference, including time specificity, because somebody grieving tend to be confused to start with. Grief make us confused. So specificity will allow them to focus from all the things that's going on. And so specificity greatly helps. And when it comes to grief, sometimes less is more. Actually, a lot of time, less is more. Grievers can feel your heart if you just there and be present with compassion and patience. And this is Dr. BirgitteTan with Joyful Riches Beyond Grief. Please share with me your thoughts about this. What are some gold nuggets that you gain? Or if you have any questions, feel welcome to comment in the comment sections below. If you find this video useful, please do subscribe so you can continue receiving updates. Please also like this video, and please share this video, because you never know who might benefit from this as well. And feel welcome to reach out to me directly as well, as written on here, drtan4grief@gmail.com or joyfulrichesbeyondgrief.com. And I appreciate you very, very much. I care about you, and I look forward to see you again very, very